Hello and welcome to this video, and on this video I'm going to be talking about essential progressive rock albums. If you're a progressive rock fan, you should own these albums. Some of them will be really obvious, like the one behind me there, Close to the Edge. Every progressive rock fan should have that album, but also other albums that you might not necessarily think you should own. And today, it's one of those albums. The album I've got to talk about, progressive rock fans, or any music fans, you should own this album. It's an absolute masterpiece and a classic of all music. One of the greatest albums of all time, I would say. And it is this album by Talking Heads, Remain in Light. Now, Talking Heads are not a band that you would associate with progressive rock. They actually come out of the sort of American punk new wave scene. They are one of the bands that emerge out of CBGBs, along with the Ramones and Blondie and all that type of thing. Very punk. They're not virtuoso musicians, but as they start to work, they develop. And by this album, they have become a highly sophisticated band, drawing on influences from a lot of, I would say, British post-punk, electronica, bands like Roxy Music, bands like people like Brian Eno. And Brian Eno actually comes in to produce this. It's actually produced by Brian Eno, but also the songs are partly written by Brian Eno, and I think Brian Eno is key to the success of this album. Now, if I show you the rear, very strange, and I've actually been listening to it at some point when I was decorating, so there's a little bit of paint splashed on here. When I look at this, as I look at the graphics, this looks like it could be there today. This album is, I think, 45 years old. It's quite incredible. It spawned one of their biggest hits, which is the tune Once in a Lifetime. Went blank then, because I haven't opened this album for ages, and I didn't realise I hadn't seen the inner sleeve for ages. There's the inner sleeve, absolutely fantastic. And then there's the credits, and what I was doing is looking at those credits going, oh my god, if I'm going to have to read those, that's going to make my brain go funny. We also have in here a lyrics sheet. This is the stuff you don't get anymore. If you buy an album, got the lyrics there. Let's go through the credits on here, because I think it's key for this album. On guitars, we have Jerry Harrison, David Byrne, and fresh from Frank Zappa's band, Adrian Belew. Adrian Belew at this point was playing with David Bowie. He was the new guitarist on the block, and what he brought in was a sort of incredible approach to guitar, which took Hendrix's idea of using the guitar to create new sounds and push that to the limit. It's something that I feel has been lost from guitar playing. And Adrian Belew, alongside people like Fripp and David Torn, they were brilliant at exploring what the sounds you can get out of the guitar, which seems to be endless, and everyone's forgotten about this. And Adrian Belew is an incredible singer, an incredible songwriter as well. I often wonder how much he influenced the songwriting. David Byrne, their leader, of course, is famous for being Asperger's. He has Asperger's, and that sort of Asperger's aesthetic goes through this track. I think David could be quite difficult to work with, and I will tell you a little secret I once got told, is at one point they actually wanted to bring in Adrian Belew to sing for this band, which would have been quite incredible, but I just wonder whether the genius of David Byrne is required. On keyboards, we've got Tina Weymouth, David Byrne, Brian Eno's doing his very signature sort of non-virtuoso keyboard playing. On basses, Jerry Harrison, Tina Weymouth, David Byrne, Brian Eno. So it's a really interesting album, because we've got a band here, and this band can perform live, but everybody's chipping in. On drums, Chris France, their drummer, who bashes out a really solid, funky groove, and he's backed up by Jose Rossi, who was the percussionist in Weather Report. In fact, I think he went from this to join Weather Report's band, and was on that big change that happened to Weather Report when Jacko left, and they came out with the album called, oh come on Andy, I've failed that one, haven't I? It'll come to me once I move on. Robert Palmer's on here. Didn't know that. Nona Hendrix, who was working with Bill Laswell, is on here. She's the great soul singer, and I feel like the influence of Bill Laswell is on this as well. We got full brass section, including the trumpets of the great John Hassell. So we've got a whole bunch of what I call next wave progressive rock musicians, the ones that were exploring minimalism, avant-garde, electronica, ambience. They're all here, but they're making what is essentially a pop album with a huge hit record, Once in a Lifetime. Now, I believe Once in a Lifetime to be one of the greatest songs ever written. It's combines sort of new wave, it combines sort of African music, electronic music. This is progressive music, but in a way that's completely new. When King Crimson regroup in 1980-81, they almost bring in the sound of Talking Heads. Talking Heads, this sound at this point, I believe, is really influential, and then goes to influence a lot of modern progressive rock. I hear the DNA of this album all over the place. Once in a Lifetime, of course, is an ode to eternal recurrence, where our lifetime is compared to that of a drop of water, with the conceit, because it's not actually the case, but the conceit that a drop of water could literally be rained onto the land, run through the rocks, go into the river, run underground, go out to the sea, and eventually evaporate up into clouds. And this idea of that great big circle, which is continually going round and round, is a metaphor for our lives, and that we've had a number of lives, and we are actually in a state of existential angst as we realize that we are just in the next life, and we can feel these things going round and round. And it's all given to you in this idea of sort of an American snake oil salesman, preacher, a little bit like Scott Lard over at Prog Corner, but we won't get into all that. And in that, you can sort of get an idea of why this is progressive rock and not punk. With subject matter like that, with the sort of approach to music playing, you know, not Roxy Music, Brian Eno at the helm, that's what we have with this album. A truly fantastic album. They then want for this to make him probably what is the greatest concert film of all time, which is Stop Making Sense. I've spoken about that on here before, and I will talk about it again. Essential viewing if you're interested in concert films. I think that and The Last Waltz are sort of seen as being the two greatest concert films. And as The Last Waltz is full of people like Van Morrison, I ain't going to be interested in that, am I? We're done. If you like this video, like it. If you want to see some more, you can subscribe. If you want to join the Andy Edwards Club over on Patreon, you can. You can come and join a whole bunch of like-minded musicians, find out about the music they make and like, and you could also get a whole ton of exclusive content, and you can join as a free member. And the free members get to get involved in things like the polls and discussions about what the content is going on here, and I will always throw them a few scraps every month. So hope you enjoyed this video. Oh yeah, and I've got a PayPal tip jar, so you can give me a tip as well if you want, if you enjoyed this video. And if you like these short, like 10-minute videos, then I'm going to be making a lot of these. I am making a lot today, and I'm going to schedule them all, so keep an eye out for them. They'll be coming out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I hope you like this video. I'll see you later.